software development company, but we are a specialist outsource company. So we are a work-for-hire specialists. We don't develop our own products. We're basically a team of hired guns, you might say. We work on games technology, smartphone apps, business software, embedded systems, electronics, all areas of technology. And what we do is we work with companies who either don't have knowledge inside their companies to create the products and services that they want, or we'll actually bolster the internal teams and work with them as a team extension when they need it, so that they don't overcommit, recruit heavily, and then find that they can't sustain the workforce. Now, where we differ from companies hiring individual contractors is that we're a single point of contact, offering several people as manpower. And also, we're going to be there the next time companies need that extra resource, whereas they might invest a lot of time getting knowledge into an individual contractor, and then when they don't need them anymore, the individual contractor goes and finds a new contract, and that's them gone, and all of that knowledge has gone. We aim to retain that knowledge in-house and be able to become an on-demand service for technology development companies.
So how many staff do you have?
We've got 5 full-time staff, and then what we have is we have a suite of specialist contractors. So the full-time staff are very experienced generalist programmers. All 5 full-time staff are hands-on programmers as well as, so even management are programmers as well. And then we have a pool of contractors that we've worked with before that we can bring in to bolster our team when we need to. But obviously our business is all about keeping that knowledge within the company. So we can grow and shrink as needs be, but at the same time we make a conscious effort to keep a handle on all of that knowledge.
I know you get involved in doing any kind of training for younger people, or you're not at a size yet where you can do that? Because I would imagine some of the skills that you have are quite specialist. It must be quite hard sometimes to find people with these skills. It is.
It's very difficult, and even though there's some very talented graduates out there, there's an intense competition for them, and even the amount of time it takes to identify the guys who can be really good and get them in at an early age so that you can bring them up to be fluent in many different languages and disciplines, it's a very time-consuming activity. So we work on word of mouth and referrals. We were constantly in touch with local universities and colleges, and we've just taken on recently the 5th employee is the youngest in the company. So she's 21. She doesn't have a degree, but she's actually worked her way up in the games industry through entering it through a QA role and then working her way up to game tweaking and programming. Very, very bright young lady, and we recognised that and got her on board as soon as we could.
And did she approach you as a
well, I actually encountered her when she came on a work experience program to a company that I used to work for. She was only there as a summer intern, but then as soon as I had a company and I was looking for some young and some young candidates with great potential, I went looking for her.
Right. So for those of us with kids, should they all be doing, programming?
I don't think there's any harm in it whatsoever, to be honest. I think
my son will be delighted.
I think it's very interesting that the popularity recently of the BlackBerry Pi that's it's getting pushed everywhere. I think is a fantastic idea. I'm not sure how much you can force this onto kids, but if they can just see that little spark that so many of us saw 20, 25, 30 years ago with the evolution of the kind of the home computer, it can just spark that little inspirational part of the brain into action, and once you get into it, that's it.
I'm going to ask you a really embarrassing question now. What is BlackBerry Pi?
Oh, right, okay. Well, BlackBerry Pi is basically, it looks like a small printed circuit board, which plugs into a USB port on your computer, and it's a fully functioning computer, but just on a printed circuit board, and it doesn't do anything when you buy it. I think it costs about £40. It doesn't do anything. You have to program it but it's actually quite a powerful little thing. And the whole idea is to get people involved in programming. It's a low-cost computer, and it's useless unless you tell it what to do. So it's perfect.
Okay. So you set up your current company kind of a year and a half ago or so. Before that, you were owner of CA Technologies. What made you decide to set up? Are they still running in parallel? What's the story there?
Yeah, CA Technologies that's basically a holding company that I had throughout my the last few years of my career. Once I started looking into studying my MBA and kind of putting things in place for when I did want to start my own company, I've always been tweaking and inventing things, playing with electronics, and I wanted something that was there and ready when I decided to actually go it alone. Okay,
and what made you make that step to go off by yourself?
Well, I didn't in the end. That was always my intention, was to have my own company, start off as just me, and then work up from there. But in June last year, June 2011, the game studio that I was working at in Warrington was actually shut down, and I was made redundant along with about 35 other people.
Right.
That was when I thought my plans could kick into action, and I would go it alone and see how it went. But I think probably one of the best business decisions I've ever made was to actually step back from that situation and think, before rushing into anything, is there a better alternative? And if there's one thing that my MBA taught me, it was to, evaluate things, rather than just treating everything with instinct. Let's look at everything. Let's try and put a value on the different things around me and how I can use those to give me the best chance to succeed. And the first thing I started thinking about was the other people around me. And all of a sudden you had a vast number of very, very talented people who were about to be out of a job and on the jobs market. And so, excuse me while I just take a drink, sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Go ahead.
So, I got together with somebody I've worked with for the past decade and decided to join forces and set up a company with 2 directors and 1 employee. There was a lot of decisions to be made and a lot of talking, but I think that was a very, very good decision, and it wouldn't have been right to try and do it all on my own.
Right, and why is that?
I think basically your bandwidth is very, very limited when you're an individual trying to start up on your own. If the type of business that you're trying to do, maybe it's retail-based, or, excuse me, is to do with longer-term pieces of work, it can work out. What I was looking at was taking on short-term technology contracts. If I'd have done that on my own, it would have been very difficult to maintain that and keep it sustainable, because at the end of every contract, it would have been a case of some downtime and looking for the next contract.
Yeah. So is your role? Is it more going out and kind of winning new business, or is it kind of being in charge of delivering current contracts that you've got?
It's both, basically.
Right.
I don't think I would get as much enjoyment out of just doing one of those things. But one of the first decisions that myself and my business partner made was to split the responsibilities. So as my job title says, excuse me. I took over the commercial direction of the company. My business partner, Steve Powell, he took over as development director. So we do split a lot of the roles in the business, but obviously we like to keep involved in all aspects of it as well.
And obviously, it's a relatively short time since you've set up the company, but are there any kind of real lessons you've learned already?
I think so. I think rather than learning new lessons from D3T, it's probably reinforced what I've learned in the past as well. And quite often, I think of the pillars of our business sound a bit like a bit of business theory, but I think it's one of my own. It's basically 3 T's. So there's honesty, loyalty, and quality, basically. And I think honesty. I've worked for places many years ago where I saw what overcommitting and making promises that couldn't be kept could do to a business's reputation, and I always told myself I would never go down that route. Loyalty, it sounds rather cliched, but and we've only been around for 18 months, but our long-term customers, the ones who work with us continuously, you have to put a value on those that's 10 times the short-term customers, or that thing that might be just around the corner. You've got to remember, who your prime concerns are. And loyalty also in the type of industry I've been involved in for the past decade, the computer games industry. It's a very small industry, and you meet the same people going round and round in circles. So, competition is fine, but always being aware of not climbing over people to get to the top is definitely worth bearing in mind. And then quality, the number of times I've heard people promising that they will truly deliver on what they've said and then not doing it, just makes me not want to be one of those people. So we want to get it right for people, and we'll go that extra mile to really take it up a notch and deliver to the highest quality that we can.
And you obviously just come back from Poland. Are many of your clients in Europe, or are they more UK based generally?
Well, we've worked for clients all over the UK, but we have clients in the Netherlands, Poland, Sicily as well, places like that. And the strangest thing is that we've met most of our clients. The ones we haven't met are probably the ones in the UK.
Right, okay.
We do work for people without even meeting them, just through phone calls and electronic conversations via email.
And how do you, obviously with small businesses, the kind of sales is a lifeblood of the business. How do you grow your sales or your work? Is it recommendation, or do you use cold calling service? How do you do that?
No, cold calling wouldn't work.
No.
We don't expect people to Google for for software developers that can help them, and us to pop up the top of Google. So we don't spend thousands on SEO.
On search optimization.
What we do is we make sure that we do a great job for our clients. Excuse me. And we work off word of mouth referrals, basically. Right.
Yeah. Okay. This might be a good time for me to share my desktop, so people can see your LinkedIn profile. Let me see if I can do that. Yep. Okay. There we go. And so, in terms of the setting up your company, have you had to raise funding? Have you done that in the past? Been involved in that in the past?
No, we haven't. The whole business model was based on being self-sufficient from day one.
Right.
So it was all about, let's get some early work in from contacts that we already had. We've worked with lots of people in the past, and then grow the business from there. And it was one of those things where we thought we'll give it 3 months and make sure that things are working out, and if they're not, then we didn't want to go looking for funding.
Right.
So luckily, or maybe not luckily, it worked out. But there's similar situations when we're asking for funding is basically when we're in with a new client, trying to gain their trust and persuade them that using outsourced developers can work for them. So whereas we're never in a situation such as Dragon's Den where we're asking for cash investment, we're asking people to put their ultimate asset, which is their technology, in our hands, and that takes quite a lot of trust.
And do you never envisage having to go out for funding, actually?
We may well do. I think
Yeah.
it's the type of business that we have is scalability will become an issue at some point, because obviously we're a knowledge-based business, and there's going to be a sweet spot. Excuse me.
No, it's fine. I had this earlier where I was coughing. It's awful, isn't it?
It's hard work. But we if we wanted to double our capacity, we'd probably have to increase our number of staff by much more than 100%, because the amount of management time that's going to be required is going to increase probably exponentially. So, quite possibly we would. But at the moment, our plan for growth is to be sustainable and self-sufficient. And for the next couple of years, that should be manageable without external investment. And
kind of any longer-term plans, apart from possibly going out for funding? I mean, are you planning to grow it, to sell it, or actually you're not quite sure, or not sure, see how it goes type of thing?
At the moment, one of the things that we want to look at over the next few years is actually adding value to the business. At the moment, we sell our brain power. So if someone were to come along and want to buy the business, what they'd effectively be doing is yes, buying our reputation, but they'd be buying the knowledge of the people within the company. Which obviously would be of a concern to a lot of investors.
Yeah.
What we do have is a lot of experience in developing IP and creative products, entertainment software and things like that. But at the moment, what we do is we're focused 100% on delivering our clients' projects rather than our own. So when it comes to the point where we want to develop our own intellectual property, we want to do that as a very separate activity so that we can keep looking after our existing clients.
Okay. And in terms of kind of business learning or kind of any mistakes you've made, are there any that you can think of?
As far as mistakes are concerned, I think, excuse me. No, that's fine. I think one thing that people kept saying to me was, you should have done this ages ago. It's working out. And even one of my previous bosses said, why didn't you do this a long time ago? But I don't think that was a mistake. I think that the timing was right, and with the redundancy happening, it wasn't a knee-jerk reaction to go into this. It was kind of a plan that was there ready, and the timing was right. So I don't think it was a mistake to not do it earlier. I think everything that I learnt from my previous employment counted right up to the last minute, and also I completed my MBA in 2010, which prepared me very, very well for doing this.
Okay. And do you have any advice for alumni listening, either if they've been made redundant, or kind of A, or B, if they're thinking of setting up their own business? Anything you kind of...
Yeah, I mean, I've been made redundant twice. Once when I was 24, and the next time was quite a bit after that. And I think both of those experiences were very, very different. And I think you have to look at what's happening in context. There's no point in panicking. There's no point in forcing yourself into any particular decision-making process. But I think it's always worth having a plan. So, if you find yourself being made redundant without a plan, then take your time. But if you're in employment at the moment and you think that you might be made redundant or there's a risk, have at least an idea of what you might like to happen. I think one book I read as part of the MBA was Our Iceberg is Melting by Cotter, and it's such a short, simple fable about change management, and it related so much to what I was seeing in my employment at the time. And I think everyone who reads it probably thinks that book was written for them.
I've never read it, actually. I shall go.
You really should. It will take probably about half an hour to read, but
okay.
reading it, it really does make you think. It's a very kind of, well, I won't spoil it, but I definitely recommend that everyone reads it.
Okay, I will post that on the comment box.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering whether it. I will definitely read it, but also whether it's quite similar to Who Moved My Cheese. Have you ever read that?
Yes, very, very similar.
Is it very similar? Yeah. But sometimes a fable is the best way to get that message through, rather than just telling somebody.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because I think people. I've been working with somebody recently who is going to possibly get made redundant, and he hadn't even thought about, well, actually, do I even want to stay? And that actually, when he did start to think about it, he thought, actually, I don't think I do. Yeah. So it was interesting. And actually now he's starting to look outside, which actually I think it's more likely they will now say, actually, we do want you to stay, because actually he's less bothered.
Right.
We'll see. And do you have a mentor, Jamie, or...
Not a formal one. Obviously, there are people that I do run things by, and I talk to both on and off the record, informally and formally. There's an ex-boss of mine named Colin Bell, who has a business consultancy called GamesWise. He's a very knowledgeable man, and somebody who can. He's got the ability to always be very objective about things, and that can be really helpful sometimes when somebody tells you something that you don't really want to hear, but you can kind of trust where they're coming from. It's an invaluable asset to have. And also, there's a company called Icon Business Solutions as well, who are management consultants. They offer some very, very good services to companies who want to add value, basically. And one of the guys there, Bill Hobden, is absolutely fantastic. You think you've explored all opportunities as to which direction you might want to take in the future, and then he'll come up with an awful lot more, and then you can go about evaluating all of those. It's a lot of fun.
So is he? Have you used him then, Bill?
Yes, I have. Yes,
yeah.
I'd definitely recommend that if somebody's got a company, with 4 or 5 or more employees, and they're looking to grow that company, both Icon Business Solutions for general business, and if it is an entertainment software or games business, Colin Bell at GamesWise. Okay,
GamesWise. Okay. Brilliant. Well, I will post those as well. Really good resources. And, you mentioned Our Iceberg is Melting book. Are there any other business books or kind of business people that you admire that you've learned from that you could single out?
As far as books are concerned, I am quite a fan of Kotter. I think What Leaders Really Do is a great book as well, an inspirational book. But as far as a particular businessman or woman is concerned, I don't think I would single anyone out. I think what I've learned from the past 18 months is that anyone who can manage to provide a stable environment and a sustainable business for the employees is pretty admirable. And I underestimated what a lot of people do, and it's very, very rewarding, but it just makes you realize how many people are out there doing an awful lot in the economy, in small businesses.
And what do you enjoy about what you do now? And are you enjoying your work much more than when you worked for a company?
Yes.
Okay.
I am, and I enjoy the challenges, not just the technical challenges, but then the business challenges as well. The buck stops with you when you run a small business, but that can be very, very rewarding, like I say. So, yeah, I enjoy the programming. I enjoy the business side of things, the sales, and also, putting together teams that can solve incredible technical challenges that get thrown at us.
Okay. And is there anything that frustrates you in your industry, or running a business?
I think I'm naturally quite a cautious person, so my caution can sometimes frustrate me, but I usually get the feeling that it's probably right to be cautious. So, coming from a volatile industry like the games industry, where we're seeing large studios of 100 plus people getting shut down on a regular basis.
Yeah,
it's the kind of thing that you don't want to be responsible for ultimately at any point. So, I'd rather kind of evaluate things, err on the side of caution, and try and play the long game, really.
Okay. And your business partner, you on your LinkedIn profile, I think you'd put your MBTI type. Is your business partner completely different from you?
Yes.
Or?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. And this is something where I think the MBA, it rather than it teaching me something completely unknown, it gave me some tools that could really, really back up your own judgment, which is great. And that was, I knew that the business partner that I now have was the right guy to go into business with. And it's just proved itself out that when you select the right team, the results can just be absolutely fantastic. Rather than picking a bunch of people and thinking, what can we do? Think, what do we want to do, and who are the right people to do it?
And did you use? You obviously did MBTI. Did you on the Open University MBA? Yeah, or did you come across that? Yeah, then. And do you use that in your selection of your team?
Not for kind of employees and subcontractors. No, not if we've worked with them before in the past.
Yeah.
But obviously, if we've got somebody that we've never worked with before, we'd want to know that they were a good fit.
Yeah. So you probably would ask them to do MBTI?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I've worked with people who've used MBTI as just kind of a kind of last not questionnaire just to make sure the team fit is right. And it's really just to flag up, if this is a very detailed role and they're coming out that they don't have, their preference isn't sensing, isn't detail, then it's just a bit of a red flag. Are they very good at something they actually don't like doing?
Yeah, exactly.
And that maybe they should be doing something else. Sorry?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we have found, when you work with people in the past, people who are, excuse me, fantastically talented, but don't actually enjoy doing what they're really, really good at.
Yeah.
And, even if it just gives you the opportunity to look again at the situation and, have another think, it can save you making a very costly mistake.
Yeah, no, definitely. Great. Well, that's really interesting. I think it's an exciting industry to be in, I would imagine, the gaming industry. It'll keep you young, Jamie, that's for sure.
Absolutely. We're on the bleeding edge, definitely, yeah.
And lots of potential. I think when I was just interviewing you, I think it said that the games industry has got huge potential for employment and growth in the economy. So it's a good sector to be in.
Well, it is very, very, very exciting, and I'd recommend it to anyone. It's a baptism of fire when you're first in it, but it prepares you very, very well for any technology role.
But I guess also, in terms of the gaming industry, they don't just employ, software engineers. There are people who are marketing, who are in HR, who are in finance, as a sector to go into. It's a good sector, even if you're not a developer. Absolutely,
yeah. I mean, that's absolutely key. The press are very, very important. So marketing, PR, all very, very important. But then again, you've got very, very intelligent and hard-working people. So HR is very, very important as well. So it employs a whole suite of people. I
would imagine some of your clients are very big, like Sony or somebody like that. They are big employers, but a lot of kind of suppliers to this industry are quite small, I would imagine. Is that right? Is that
things are changing, definitely. I mean, I've worked in studios of over 100 people as an employee, and we now do that as a group of maybe 5 people for these big studios. And a lot of people would say, well, what kind of difference can you make? But in the big studios, all the inefficiencies of large organizations start to creep in. So if you can get 5 people who are 100% focused and at the top of their game, you can make a real difference. And what's happened in the Northwest, where we used to have many studios of over 100 developers, that they've gradually got whittled down and they've shut down, but now there's a thriving independent development community in the Northwest with countless small development studios, and there's a lot of work out there. There's a lot of appetite for games and apps, and so these small agile companies can actually take advantage of that.
I mean, the whole apps business, that's been massive, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Fantastic area to get involved in. Okay, so let's see if there are any questions from our attendees. As I was saying so if you'd like to type any questions you have for Jamie into the text box on the screen now, that would be great, and then I can read out any questions we have. As I was saying to Keith, I think a lot of people will download this interview because we're going to convert it into an MP3 file so people can listen to it on their iPods and stuff. So, I should probably point out. I think at the beginning of the interview I said BlackBerry Pi, and of course it's not. It's Raspberry Pi, which is probably why you didn't know what I was. No, it wasn't that. I'm just not very IT. I know a few things, but not an awful lot. I mean, I missed a question from Robert Ward, which was a bit earlier, directed towards Keith, but I think it's really valid for you as well. Did you have any self-doubt when you got made redundant and you were looking at what you were going to do next? How did you get over that? Absolutely, and I think that's probably natural, and I'd be surprised if anyone didn't go through that. Excuse me. And even when things are going well, sometimes you might stop and think, is this really the right thing to do? But that quickly fades away. So it's one of these things. I think it's good if you get a little niggle of self-doubt, because it forces you to look around and appraise the situation, and sometimes actually can give you the reassurance that yes, you are doing the right thing. If you didn't question what you were doing, you could quite easily go off track, I think. Yeah. Okay, and I see that with the people I work with. Sometimes that is natural to go through that curve of feeling pretty low about it sometimes, and just accepting you're going to feel like this, and it is part of the process. Yes. And you can make it work for you, just as you've explained, by making sure you consider everything. Yes. A question's come in from Martin Williams on how do you generate leads? Was it taking clients from the firm that closed, or that's just gone, or have you had to generate new clients and opportunities? Have you had to learn sales and leads generation skills? Okay. Good question. No, we didn't take any clients from the firm that closed at all. But what we did was activated the network of contacts and looked for kind of second-order work. So rather than looking at the firm we were working for and who their clients were, we wanted to get introduced to clients of clients, so that we were starting with some fresh clients, and we could separate ourselves from that business. But my background is also in electronics, so I called up some contacts that I worked with before I was in the games industry, and now we provide embedded systems solutions to people as well. So it was a case of, being glad that you'd never burned any bridges and getting on the phone and talking to people. As far as sales and lead generation, that got some quite good lessons in that when our independent studio was bought out by an American publisher a few years ago in 2006. Because from that point on, although we thought we had some security because we were part of a large organization, every project that we wanted to see brought to life, we would have to sell to the execs over in the States. So it was a good warm-up, basically. Though you didn't know it at the time. Great, okay. And I presume there was you weren't allowed to take clients from the firm that you left. Well, it
wouldn't really have been possible, to be honest with you, because, like I say, we were a studio that was part of a large organisation called THQ that makes games, an American company. So our client, when we were part of THQ, was the corporation itself. As an independent studio, we worked for a large publisher, so it was kind of a single customer deal at that point.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Where our remit was to develop a game from start to finish and deliver it to the publisher. Okay. So the type of business that D3T do is actually a very different type of business.
Okay. And I have a question from Mark Douglas. How did you get your first contract once you set up your company? Okay, yeah,
that was getting on the phone. The first contract that we actually got was from a company, that I worked at about 11 years previously, but I'd always kept in touch with, and just called them up, explained what I was doing, and said, is there anything I can help you with? And they said, do you know what, we've wanted a smartphone app developing for ages. We didn't know who to go to ask them to do it. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We want it on Android, iOS, and BlackBerry. Can you come and talk to us about it? So the next day went down, and that was it. We were off and running.
I have a question for you on this kind of, because you're obviously listening to you network, you reignite your kind of your network of contacts to bring work in. Do you use LinkedIn a lot?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I try and every person I come across, I don't try and spam people, but people that I've met and had a conversation with, I like to hook up with on LinkedIn, so that if something does come along, they know where to find me. I'm also a member of the Warrington chapter of BNI as well, a networking organisation, and although I didn't expect to get any business from the people in the room there, I went there really partly from a social basis because I wanted to extend my personal network, but I was also interested in the type of companies that the people there might be doing work for.
Yeah.
And, so that's, after a few months there, referrals starting to come through, and we're starting to work for companies that would have been very, very difficult to get introduced to otherwise.
That's really interesting, because I would have thought your area was very niche, and so something like BNI maybe wouldn't be of that much value, but clearly, it has been.
I went into BNI knowing that we might go for a whole year and not get any business, because if you have got to gain the trust of the people in the room, because otherwise, why would they introduce you to their clients? So, I was prepared for a long wait. And like I say, the fallback was that there was a good social aspect to it as well. Yeah. But, once people understand the work that you do, if they then hear of people having problems and they think that you might be able to help them, then people put you in touch, and definitely worthwhile.
Super. Well, I know Fiona, who works with me, she's a leading light within BNI and Harrogate.
I am. It is. I think he's right. Sometimes, Jamie's right from the point of view you can sort of go into the room and think, because it can be very diverse businesses there, and you do often think, how can they help me? But it is more about, you don't know who these people know, and they do come across, they have sort of extensive contacts in different types of areas, and I think if you do go in with the right attitude, that it's not about what you can get out of it initially, it's how you can help other people, it comes back, and people do need to trust you, but it does work.
Yeah, I mean, the one kind of tipping point, I think, was in August, I kind of got a certificate for the most referrals brought to BNI for that month. So brilliant. I passed the most business people, and at that point I started to say, right, come on, let's get you guys working for me as well. And I think at that point, things really starting to move.
Yeah,
that's great. Keith has just typed into the box text box here. He says, after my third redundancy, yes, I had self-doubt, and a course of cognitive behavioural therapy helped. if people want to help you, then accept every offer. So thank you, Keith, for adding that in, because I think, it is tough. I think if you've been made redundant, and it can take, you often need help to move forward. So, Jamie, thank you so much. You did say that you were having problems with your voice. It sounded fine, and so thank you very much for coming on the call tonight, having just got back from Poland. I always find talking to entrepreneurs and business owners fascinating, and I think your company sounds exciting. We shall watch it carefully. We expect great things from you in the future, but congratulations on what you've achieved in the year and a half you've been set up, and thank you on behalf of Open University for being interviewed this evening.
No, thank you.
So the next, thank you very much, Jamie and Keith. The next webinar that we're having is on the 12th of December around team dynamics with Myers-Briggs, which, funnily enough, we had just mentioned when speaking to Jamie about how to use this personality type. A lot of big companies and smaller companies use it, and you can understand how you could use it in your own life, in teams, and around team dynamics, and learn some strategies for dealing with different types of personalities. So that'll be on the 12th of December at 6 o'clock. So to access the recordings, Fiona, do you want to take over and just explain how to do that?
Yes, for up until the end of the year, you can access the recordings by visiting workmaze.com. Just follow the instructions here. The Open University can give you these details as well. You can go in there, log in, and there will be recordings of tonight, but also there are previous recordings from the other webinars that we've held this year on various different subjects such as LinkedIn, CVs, covering letters, all sorts of things. So there's some really useful information on there. So if you want to go on there, you can actually access those recordings. And also, if I just click back, you can also go onto our website as well. The Open University have a private area there where we have information. And obviously, if you are interested in more about the Career Farm, you can follow us on Twitter and like our Facebook page. So yes, as Jane said, obviously we look forward to hopefully seeing you all at the next session on the 12th of December. I'd just like to thank you all for attending and hope you got something out of it and you enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you, Fiona, and hopefully see you in December. Thank you very much, Jamie and Keith. It was a pleasure to interview you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Okay, good evening.